So I have ridden over 500 different roller coasters in my lifetime, 507 to be exact. Most of these coasters are located in the United States, but I have also ridden many in Canada, Mexico, and Japan. I know I promised this video well over a year ago, and I'm sorry it took me so long, as I'm honestly terrible when it comes to ranking roller coasters, or anything in general to be honest. I much prefer nerding out about the technical aspects of a coaster, hence my problematic roller coaster series, but this video is for you guys. In this video, I will be ranking my favorite 25 roller coasters out of the 507 I have ridden. And keep in mind that I haven't ridden a roller coaster since January 1st of 2020, so it's been over a year for me. So this has really given me time to reflect on what I truly think of the different coasters I have ridden. So the things I may say could be very different from things you've heard me say before in prior videos. And also, be prepared to hear opinions that will differ from yours, but that's to be expected when it comes to ranking roller coasters. And if you guys wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that really helps the channel against the YouTube algorithm. Alright, let's dig in. Starting at number 25, we have Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City. I usually prefer ultra intense rides, and Time Traveler really isn't super intense, but it's just so unique. With the spinning cars, it turns something as basic as a vertical loop into a crazy but also random experience. And every ride I get on this coaster is different, as the spinning cars seem to ride differently throughout the layout each time. Plus, the 90-degree drop directly out of the station is something else. It's honestly one of my favorite first drops ever. And even though the rest of this coaster isn't very intense, this is one of those coasters that just puts a smile on my face every time I ride it. It's so much fun. Coming in at number 24, we have Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood. Phantom's Revenge is also a super unique roller coaster, being that it was originally built as an aerodynamics looper and was converted into an airtime machine of a hypercoaster by Morgan Manufacturing in 2001. And being a terrain coaster, the second drop is even larger than the first and delivers a great dose of airtime as riders plunge 232 feet or 70.7 meters into a ravine. Then the ending bunny hills are just insane, delivering several pops of ejector airtime. And the airtime, combined with the ride's buzz bar-like lap bars, make for an overall extraordinary experience. This is a must-ride coaster. Coming in at number 23 is a coaster that people either seem to love or hate, and for me it's Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point. Magnum opened as the world's first hypercoaster and was built by Aerodynamics. In many ways, it feels like a 200-foot tall mine train, and that's what I love about it. The airtime hills are all abrupt and deliver sudden bursts of ejector airtime. My favorite seat on the coaster is the infamous Magic Seat, Car 1 Row 3, and my favorite moments on the coaster are either the 80-foot or 24.4 meter tall airtime hill, or the last few bunny hops that deliver some of the craziest airtime I've ever felt. This definitely is not a smooth roller coaster, but that's what I love so much about it. At number 22, we have our first international roller coaster, and it's Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland. Leviathan is the first Bolliger and Mabillard, or B&M Giga roller coaster. First things first, I cannot get enough of the large drops found on Giga coasters, especially the B&M ones. The way the drops are designed makes them feel endless, followed by a tight pullout at the bottom. Originally, I wasn't the biggest fan of this coaster, and I actually preferred Behemoth, but my rides in 2019 were just top notch. The pacing of the ride is incredible, the airtime hills are perfect, especially the large one after the speed hill, and I just wanted to ride this coaster over and over again. Leviathan is without question the best roller coaster in Canada. Coming in at number 21, we have another Giga roller coaster located in Virginia, and that is Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion, or I-305. I-305 offers one of the most aggressive riding experiences out there, with its intense first drop into an even more intense first curve, causing many riders to gray out. Many moments of sustained ejector airtime, and my favorite part of the ride, the low to the ground middle section filled with forceful curves and snappy S-bends where the train changes direction rapidly as riders are slammed with negative Gs and laterals. Now I think I would rank this coaster even higher if it weren't for the massive trim break found on the ride's second large camelback. While these trims don't affect the experience as much with a fully loaded train, I just can't seem to ride I-305 with a full one. Almost every time I've ridden, my train was either nearly empty or it was too cold out for the ride to really perform. Thus, every time I've hit that trim, I have found the train to just crawl through the remainder of the layout, if only those trims were adjustable. Now hopefully in the future, I'll get to experience the full strength of Intimidator 305, but otherwise, it's a great coaster. My number 20 roller coaster may come as a surprise to some of you, and it's Raptor at Cedar Point. Raptor is not the first B&M inverted roller coaster, but it was the company's first invert built at a larger scale. Over the past few years, I've grown very favorable to intense positive G-forces, hence the ranking of this coaster. Raptor absolutely powers through its layout, delivering back-to-back moments of forceful positive Gs, and many snappy moments that I just can't get enough of. I love whipping through the zero-G roll, the whippy cobra roll, the corkscrews, and I'm also a sucker for the earthquake-like transition into the final brake run. And I still find the coaster so smooth even with it being over 25 years old. Coming in at number 19, we have Mind Eraser at Six Flags America. Just kidding, that ride. It's actually Fujiyama at Fuji-Q Highland in Japan. This monstrously sized hyper roller coaster is built by Togo, who typically build very horrible and rough attractions, but to me, Fujiyama was the complete opposite. Besides the awkward turns and banking, I found this coaster to be extremely graceful. The airtime hills, while not offering crazy ejector, delivered what I found to be a perfect amount of floater airtime, and the ride is just so long. With no second lift hill or mid-course brake run to interrupt the experience, the coaster just felt endless. Now I can't guarantee you'll love this coaster as much as I did. Many of you may prefer Bandit at Yomiuri-land, which is another Togo hypercoaster, but I personally found Fujiyama more unique. Next at number 18, we have our first wooden roller coaster on the list, and that's Phoenix at Canobie's. Phoenix is often ranked as the world's best wooden roller coaster by the Golden Ticket Awards, and while I may not agree that it's the absolute world's best, it is certainly one of the best in the world. For being a relocated coaster that originally opened in 1948, this coaster is glass smooth, and it gets better and better as the train travels further into the layout. Each successive hill seems to feature more airtime, and it's almost like the ride feels faster at the end than it did at the beginning. I love whipping around the fast-paced turnarounds, and the buzz bars are a wonderful complement to all the crazy airtime moments. It's one of the few rides that I actually feel like I could fall out of, especially on the double down here or the ending bunny hops. Overall, I love the old school vibe Phoenix gives off, but I can't rank it any higher because it's missing things that are very important to me in a good roller coaster, like a great first drop. Either way, Phoenix is always a great time, and to me, one of the most fun coasters out there. Coming in at number 17 is another wooden roller coaster, and that is Gold Striker at California's Great America. Gold Striker was built by Great Coasters International, or GCI, and of all the GCI wooden coasters I have ridden, this one seems to pull off what GCI is known for the best. The ride is compact, features very fast-paced turns, and really hauls around its layout. I love the quick pops of airtime into and out of the turnarounds, and the bunny hops in between are amazing as well. And the ride absolutely charges into the final brake run. In my opinion, it doesn't have a dull moment on it. Plus, the ride has gotten a little rougher than other GCIs I've ridden, and I actually like that. To me, rougher wooden roller coasters are more aggressive, and currently, that is something I am more favorable to. Next up at number 16 is Flying Dinosaur at Universal Studios Japan. Flying Dinosaur is a large B&M flying roller coaster themed to a pterodactyl, and it also happens to be one of the most intense roller coasters I've ridden. Compared to other great B&M flyers like Manta at SeaWorld Orlando or Tatsu at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Flying Dinosaur really steps up the heat with its faster pacing and more intense experience. I love whipping through the 540-degree roll that leads into a bone-crushing transition as you pull up into the Raven turn, the very fast pretzel loop that dives underground, and even the ending helix that offers another great moment of positive G-forces that leaves you pinned against your vet's restraint. But I wish you luck dealing with the line for the ride. Coming in at number 15 is a personal favorite of mine, Millennium Force at Cedar Point. I don't know what it is exactly about Millennium, but I have an attachment to it that I rarely have with other roller coasters. I love the lift hill that cruises along Lake Erie, and then the following massive drop that delivers great airtime, especially in the back rows. I also find the ride to deliver some pretty good positive G-forces, especially when it's cycling the track in about 60 seconds. Other than that, I just love the feeling of speed and freedom the ride provides. Yeah, it may not have all the best elements or airtime moments, but I just feel this almost magical energy with the ride, and it's something I can't get enough of. It's also my wife Nadine's favorite roller coaster. Next up on the list is our first and only Florida roller coaster, and that is Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa, coming in at number 14. In my eyes, Montu is an absolute dream of a B&M inverted roller coaster. Nearly every valley of the coaster features a strong amount of positive G-forces. All of the elements are taken with amazing pacing. I love how the coaster dives below ground level into various trenches, and the Batwing is one of my favorite elements ever on a roller coaster. It is such an intense moment, and overall, Montu always manages to put a smile on my face. This is a top-notch roller coaster. At number 13, we have another wooden roller coaster, and that is Boulder Dash at Lake Compounce. Boulder Dash uses its terrain like no other coaster I have ridden. The entire ride is built on the side of a large hill and through the woods. The ride hugs the ground at almost all times, even the ride's lift hill. The train then tears through its layout, delivering a large amount of laterals, floater airtime, and overall amazing pacing as the train rips through the woods. I especially love the return run on the coaster, where after ripping through an amazing turnaround, the ride heads through a series of fast-paced bunny hills, delivering airtime moment after airtime moment. Without question, Boulder Dash is the best roller coaster in the New England area. Next up at number 12 is the tallest roller coaster on this list, and that is Fury 325 at Carowinds. Fury 325 is the world's tallest roller coaster with a lift hill, and the largest coaster ever created by manufacturer B&M. Reaching a height of 325 feet, or 99 meters, Fury 325 sends riders down a euphoric first drop that feels like it lasts forever. This then leads into an extremely fast-paced ride experience that sends riders flying through low-to-the-ground turns, sideways airtime moments, underground tunnels, and even ends with some amazing sustained airtime moments. This ride is an absolute dream of a roller coaster, and I can see why it would be many people's favorite roller coaster of all time. B&M really hit a home run with this coaster, and to me, it is objectively perfect for what it is. Coming in at number 11, we have Skyrush at Hershey Park. I've called a lot of coasters on this list intense, but Skyrush is seriously something else. The first drop features a crazy kink partway down that absolutely launches you out of your seat. The low-to-the-ground airtime hills deliver some of the strongest ejector airtime I've ever felt, and all of the valleys and turns are insanely tight, delivering great positive G-forces. The only downsides to the ride are that it's very short in length, and the restraints are awful. Throughout the ride, your lap bar will tighten dramatically, and because of the angle the lap bars make contact with your legs, they can really hurt, hence the nickname Thigh Crush. Honestly, if it weren't for that, I'd probably rank this coaster even higher, but the pain can distract from the otherwise amazing experience for me. Either way, this is one of my favorite roller coasters. At number 10, we have our first roller coaster built by Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC, and that coaster is Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. Iron Rattler features one of the best first drops ever, as you dive down the side of a large quarry wall. The rest of the ride is then either spent leaping back up the quarry wall or also diving back down it, multiple times. The ride features many great moments of ejector airtime that coasters built by RMC are well known for. I especially love the zero-G roll as you leap up the cliff that delivers ejector airtime as you come out of it, at least in the back rows. And then obviously the ending drop off the cliff is the best one. The ride is certainly quite short, but there's something about diving down the cliff walls or leaping up them that makes this ride stand out against so many others. Next up at number 9, we have another RMC, and that is Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Twisted Colossus is the reincarnation of the dueling wooden coaster Colossus, and RMC took the two separate roller coasters and combined them into one. So you get to ride through both tracks, meaning there are two first drops, and each track has slightly different elements, keeping the ride exciting all the way to the end. Now, a big reason as to why I rank this ride so highly is when I took my rides during Memorial Day weekend of 2017, I dueled every single time I rode, and on both laps. Combining the goodness of an RMC with dueling is a winning formula, and I absolutely cannot get enough of this ride. That's why it's my favorite roller coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Now, if I were to experience the norm with this ride, where dueling doesn't really take place, I may not rank it as highly as I currently do. At number 8, we have another California roller coaster, and that is Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. Ghost Rider has an interesting story, as it was originally built by CCI in 1998, and then in 2016, GCI completely renovated the coaster. Many enthusiasts swear that the older version was better, but I've only ridden the GCI version of the ride, and I absolutely loved it. Ghost Rider had excellent pacing, amazing airtime, and a ride that just seemed non-stop. And the coaster just got more and more aggressive the further into the ride it got. The drop off the mid-course is amazing, and the second half is filled with relentless bunny hops, lateral forces, and I love the ending helix. Now, thanks to terrible operations, this is a coaster I waited over 2.5 hours to ride, but the wait was honestly worth it. Next at number 7, we have Lightning Rod at Dollywood. This troubled roller coaster offers a breathtaking experience with its launch up the hillside and its use of terrain as the coaster rides up and down every hill. I love how the massive wave turn and the twist and shout are on either sides of the large valley the coaster sits in. And the ending half of the coaster is just insane with the non-stop pops of ejector airtime as you head towards the quad down, then the actual quad down itself, and then the ending turnaround where you feel the train is riding faster than it was at the bottom of the first drop. For me, this is another coaster that just gets better and better the further the train rides into the course. I think if it still featured the original launch that sent trains flying into the first drop, this coaster would rank even higher. Now, hopefully with the renovations RMC is making to Lightning Rod, this coaster will become more reliable going forward. For my next coaster, you'll have to take a trip south of the border to Mexico City, and that's because my number 6 is Superman El Ultimo Escape at Six Flags Mexico. Superman is the biggest underdog of a roller coaster that I've ever experienced. I went in with low expectations and was absolutely blown away by this Morgan hypercoaster. The ride features a cool pre-lift section with airtime pops, and the rest of the ride features crazy ejector airtime as well as powerful moments of lateral forces. The first helix leaves you pinned against the side of your seat, and the airtime hill following is one of my favorite moments on a coaster period. Even in the back rows, you are ejected out of your seat as you ascend the hill, and then are slammed to the left while still airborne as the train flies into the second helix. And then the mid-course hardly slows the train down at all, leading to a few more moments of ejector airtime as you fly toward the final brake run. The coaster almost feels like it takes the track too fast. It's just something else. When I visited Mexico, I went in with the expectation that Medusa Steel Coaster would be my favorite, but Superman easily took that spot. Alright, coming in at number 5, we have Outlaw Run at Silver Dollar City. While in duration, this may be one of the shortest roller coasters on the list, I think everything else going for this ride is world class. I love the first drop that dives into the woods of Missouri, and the steel wheels riding on the RMC topper track deliver a ride texture that I absolutely love. It's not too smooth and makes this coaster feel much more aggressive than other RMCs. The rest of the layout is filled with low to the ground airtime hills, wave turns, and I love how closely the ride hugs its terrain. The ending finale with the bunny hop that leads into 2 barrel rolls as you climb back up the hillside is absolutely perfect. Every time I take Outlaw Run for a spin, I know it's one of my favorite roller coasters, and it also offers one of the best night rides I've ever experienced. At number 4, we have a roller coaster that I used to claim was my favorite, and that would be Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. Steel Vengeance is the longest roller coaster built by RMC, and therefore features the most airtime on any RMC, and also any roller coaster in the world. Steel Vengeance is absolutely packed to the brim with elements between its massive outward banked airtime hill, its countless inversions, and its ending finale featuring bunny hill after bunny hill. In theory, this should be the best roller coaster in the world, but here is why I now rank it at number 4 rather than number 1. To me, while Steel Vengeance may be the absolute dream of a roller coaster, I find the ride experience to not have enough of its own charm or charisma. Riding Steel Vengeance can feel like I'm on a larger version of smaller RMC coasters like Twisted Timbers, Wicked Cyclone, and many others. And personally, while the smaller RMC coasters are awesome, they all kind of blend into each other, hence why none of them were on this list. Meanwhile, the RMCs that are on my list each offer their own unique flavor that really helps make them stand out. Either way, I still rank this coaster at number 4 out of 507, which means I still absolutely love it. And now we're down to my top 3 roller coasters. Out of the 507 coasters I've ridden, to even make my top 25 is extremely good. But these 3 coasters are the ones that I would choose to ride anytime, any day. At number 3, we have the Voyage at Holiday World. In my opinion, the Voyage is an even more perfect roller coaster than Steel Vengeance that also offers a unique riding experience which easily sets it apart from the rest. The Voyage is packed with non-stop moments of strong floater airtime, some even being very sustained like the large camelbacks at the start of the ride. The spaghetti bowl of the ride that acts as the turnaround also feels relentless as the train pummels forward with an incredible amount of energy. The ride uses its terrain wonderfully to the point that it almost seems like an optical illusion. After the 2 large airtime hills, almost all of the ride appears that it rises no higher than maybe 30 feet or 9 meters off the ground. Yet on the absolutely epic return run, the coaster runs downhill and builds more and more speed, all the while feeling more out of control, and the Voyage also has to offer the best night rides on Earth. The only downside is that certain years, the ride can become rather rough and brutal. This can make the coaster quite hard to re-ride in my opinion, and I've been on plenty of wooden coasters that are far rougher than Voyage, but because Voyage is so long, I just find it tiring when it runs rough. Now luckily, Holiday World does an amazing job maintaining this coaster, and I am still confident that if the Voyage operated at most other parks, it would be a rough nightmare. Next up at number 2, we have the roller coaster that gives the channel part of its identity, and that is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. El Toro is a state-of-the-art wooden roller coaster that brings some of the best qualities of an intense steel hypercoaster to a wood coaster. With its massive 18-row trains, the first drop absolutely ejects riders seated in the back cars. The airtime produced on the first drop is stupidly strong and thus helps make this one of my favorite first drops ever. Next up are 2 massive camelbacks that deliver my favorite 2 moments of airtime ever. These hills are tall and also quite steep, but El Toro charges over them, producing breathtaking ejector airtime. And the airtime is sustained, meaning you spend a good 3 to nearly 4 seconds completely weightless, no matter where you sit on the train. If El Toro were to end after the first 2 airtime hills, I would still rank this coaster as one of the world's best. But the ride keeps going with relentless pacing, moments of high positive G-forces, and many head choppers as you dive underneath the structure above you. Later in the ride, the train whips over the infamous Rolling Thunder Hill, which delivers another burst of ejector airtime. For many, this is their favorite part of the ride, but I'm a bigger fan of the large airtime hills after the first drop. The ride ends with a fast-paced twister section that I find massively underrated, especially when the ride is running at its fastest. And besides the amazing ride experience, I have a strong personal connection with El Toro because I worked at it for nearly 4 years. For those of you who know the feeling of working long shifts as a ride operator, El Toro was basically my second home. And finally, at number 1, we have the absolute wildest roller coaster I have ever been on. One that made me question what exactly was happening throughout the entire experience, and that would be Looping Star at Keensburg Amusement Park. My number 1 roller coaster is Ejunaika at Fuji-Q Highland in Japan. Ejunaika is without question the most ridiculous roller coaster I have ever ridden. The ride is a 4th dimension coaster built by American manufacturer S&S and is only one of 2 others in the world. I've been on X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and personally I was expecting more intensity from the ride based on the hype I've heard about it. But Ejunaika came through and delivered a highly intense ride experience and even more. The ride is massive and towers over the back half of Fuji-Q Highland. After loading into the colossal 5-row trains, you are dispatched backwards and begin to climb the 249.3 foot or 76 meter tall lift hill. After you dip through the small pre-drop, the insanity begins. You start by rotating into the vertical drop, leaving you staring straight down at the ground. At the last second, you somersault out as the train begins to pull out into the first Raven turn. This really sets the tone for the ride as you spend the rest of it flipping and rotating, which makes it so disorienting. And not to mention, the ride absolutely hauls through the layout and even delivers several moments of powerful airtime as your seats flip and rotate around. I've only ridden Ejunaika twice, but it's the only coaster I've ever walked off of, leaving me in pure awe at what just happened. It's seriously that insane. Now it should be known that Ejunaika may not be for everyone, and some may find it too disorienting or too intense to be considered enjoyable, especially if you are someone who loves a more gentle or graceful attraction. But if you're someone like me who prefers intense and mind-blowing experiences, then I guarantee this is the coaster for you. Sometime in the future, I do plan on releasing a full review video on Ejunaika that will go more in depth on the experience. So that will conclude my personal favorite 25 roller coasters. Comment down below if you have any similar opinions, and keep in mind, if my opinions didn't align with yours or someone else's, that's perfectly okay. There's no science to ranking what roller coaster is better than another, as the stuff is purely opinion. And because of that, my own opinions could change day to day, so this is just my current top 25. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.